The second week of testing in Bahrain began with a completely different atmosphere inside the Ferrari pit. It was no longer the simple mechanical exploration phase of the first days. It was no longer just checking that everything was working correctly after the more than 4,300 kilometers accumulated between Fiorano, Barcelona, and the first round in Sakhir. Now the approach was different. Squeeze, provoke the car, force it to show its real limits. And it was precisely in that process that something unexpected began to appear. Charles Leclerc was the first to notice it on the track. It was not just about the final time of 1 minute and 31.992 seconds or the 132 laps completed on the decisive day. What was striking was the way in which the SF26 maintained its balance during long stints, even when the track conditions changed and the crosswind began to alter the stability in the middle sector. The car did not break down. He did not show that extreme sensitivity that had penalized Ferrari in previous seasons. And that, for a driver who lives at the limit of the front axle like Leclerc, is an immediate sign that the aerodynamic platform is working better than expected. Lewis Hamilton, from the other side of the garage, perceived something different but complementary. What surprised him most was not the speed in one lap, but the thermal consistency of the whole. On long runs, the SF26 seemed to handle degradation better, maintaining a stable pace without abrupt drops. That stability is no coincidence. In the second week, Ferrari introduced aerodynamic updates and a new power unit, including the strategic decision to fit a smaller Honeywell turbine, prioritizing energy efficiency over raw power. This change was not designed to impress in qualifying, but to optimize electric harvesting and sustain performance in the race. And this is where the real turning point comes in. When the team began cross-referencing track data with internal simulations, they discovered that the car was generating higher than projected efficiency numbers. The correlation was not only good, it was better than expected. That means that the streamlined model was not inflating expectations, but rather reality was surpassing the model. In Formula One, that is pure gold. Because it implies that the scope for development identified on paper could even be expanded. Frédéric Vasseur was publicly cautious, talking about the importance of mileage and improving session after session. But his insistence that development during the season will be gigantic and more relevant than performance in the first race is not an empty phrase. It is a statement that comes from internal data. And those data were what left Hamilton and Leclerc shocked. Not because Ferrari clearly dominated the times, but because the SF26 was showing a solid, stable base with real room for growth. In this second week of Bahrain, Ferrari was not looking for headlines. I was looking for confirmations. And what he found was a car that responds better when required, that expands its operating window instead of reducing it, and that allows you to play with more aggressive settings without losing consistency. For a team that has suffered in recent years with erratic correlations and narrow performance windows, that discovery completely changes the internal narrative. During the second week in Bahrain, Ferrari was not chasing absolute times. In fact, the management itself was clear in downplaying direct comparisons due to the unknowns of fuel, engine modes and compounds used by rivals. That public caution made strategic sense. But internally, the conversation was different. Because when engineers started overlaying the simulations with real telemetry, something emerged that can't be faked. Consistency in aerodynamic efficiency and stability in power delivery under different conditions. The new power unit introduced in this second week, accompanied by the smaller Honeywell turbine and structural reinforcements in the power unit assembly, was not only working, it was offering a cleaner platform for managing energy. In practical terms, that means SF26 can better distribute electrical deployment without compromising temperature or forcing irregular peaks in combustion. For Hamilton, who has historically been extremely sensitive to the car's hybrid behavior when exiting corners, this detail is fundamental. It's not just about power but how it is delivered. Leclerc, for his part, began to notice that the car responded better when he pushed in quick transition phases between medium corner and high speed. This indicates that the load generated is not only stable, but remains predictable when the car changes support. In previous seasons, Ferrari had suffered with overly narrow aerodynamic windows. Here in Bahrain's second week, SF26 seemed to widen that window. And when a driver feels that he can attack without fear of the car changing its behavior mid-support, his confidence grows exponentially. But the real critical point of Act 2 is this. Vasseur made it clear that the most important thing is not performance in the first race, but the ability to develop throughout the year. That statement changes the focus completely. Because if the base car is already generating more performance than expected, and the team has also identified a significant margin for evolution, then Ferrari is not showing its ceiling. You are just showing your starting point. In the second week in Bahrain, each race simulation was designed to measure degradation, energy efficiency, and performance under high load. And what the data showed was a car that was less sensitive to overheating and more constant at medium speeds. That, translated into competitive language, means strategic capacity. It means Ferrari could play with more flexible stopping windows. It means you could attack or defend without the car falling apart after 5 demanding laps. Hamilton was shocked because he understood something key. This SF26 does not need to be driven in survival mode. It can be driven in attack mode. And Leclerc, upon seeing that the correlation with the simulator was better than expected, understood that development will not be a blind bet, but rather a progression based on reliable data. But this is where the story stops being simply optimistic and becomes strategic. Because when a car in preseason shows more performance than the simulations indicated, that can mean 2 things. Either you have found a real structural advantage, or you have not yet exposed all the hidden weaknesses that will appear when the competitive environment changes. In Bahrain's second week, the SF26 responded better when pushed to its limits. Energy efficiency improved with the new power unit specification and more compact turbine. Aerodynamic stability was greater than anticipated and correlation with the simulator exceeded expectations. But Vasseur, far from raising bells, insisted on something key. The development during the season will be gigantic and the team's ability to evolve the car will be more important than the performance in the first race. That phrase is the true closure of the puzzle. Because what Ferrari has found in Bahrain is not a perfect car. It is a solid foundation. And a solid base is dangerous if you know how to develop it better than your rivals. The SF26 has not yet been brought to a real pressure environment. He has not competed wheel to wheel. He has not had to defend his position in constant dirty air. It hasn't experienced extreme temperature changes over a full weekend. Hamilton knows it. After years in which Mercedes found performance in winter but lost it when the operating window narrowed in the race, it understands that the true test is not the test. It's validation under pressure. That is why its impact was not euphoria. It was concentration. Because he detected potential, yes, but also room for work. Leclerc, for his part, understood something equally important. The SF26 now allows progressive confidence to be built. It does not force you to survive. Allows you to attack. And when a driver feels that the car does not betray him at the limit, his performance multiplies. That feeling in Bahrain was not artificial. It was consistent across multiple runs. The hidden risk is this. If Ferrari has identified a large margin for development, it also means that it is not yet exploiting the car to its full potential. And in Formula One, time is the most valuable resource. If other teams reach their evolutionary ceiling sooner, Ferrari could be forced to accelerate processes and take more aggressive aerodynamic risks. That's why Vasseur's reaction was so measured. Because the internal impact was strong, but experience tells him that the preseason does not deliver championships. What it does provide is address. And in the second week of Bahrain, Ferrari found clear technical direction. Hamilton and Leclerc were not shocked by a fast lap. They were shocked because, for the first time in a long time, Ferrari seems to have something more important than speed. It has a coherent, correlated, and developable foundation. And in a season where evolution can be more determining than the starting point, that could change absolutely everything. The second week of testing in Bahrain was not simply another phase of preparation for Ferrari. It was the moment when the SF26 stopped being a promising project on paper and became a reality that surprised even those who had designed it. Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc were not shocked by a timetable. They were shocked by the data. 4 stability in long runs. 4 improved energy efficiency with the new power unit configuration. Through a correlation with the simulator that, far from raising doubts, confirmed that the car responds exactly as it should, or even better. And when a team like Ferrari finds more performance than it expected in its own simulation, that's no coincidence. It is a sign that the technical base is solid, that the aerodynamic direction is coherent, that the chosen energy philosophy has real room for evolution. Frédéric Vasseur was clear when he said that what is truly important will be the ability to develop during the season. And that phrase sums up everything that happened in that second week. Ferrari is not celebrating a finished car. He is celebrating having found a platform that can grow. The SF26 has not yet shown its final version. It hasn't been pushed in real racing conditions. He has not suffered the strategic pressure of a Sunday. But what the sensors in Bahrain revealed changed the internal perception of the project. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.